Jo, hallo Freunde, willkommen zurück zu Genshin Impact. Im letzten Part haben wir unsere Fähigkeiten als Detektive zur Schau gestellt und wir vermuten, dass womöglich eine dritte Person bei der Zauberervorführung ihre oder seine Finger im Spiel hatte und jetzt geht's zur Gerichtsverhandlung. Nimm an der Verhandlung teil. Ja, dann werden wir uns das jetzt hier mal angucken. Der Orgelgesang ist hier auch am Start. Bin ich mal gespannt. Ich habe ein paar Gedanken, aber gehen wir die Dinge Schritt für Schritt an.
Good plan. Impossible things don't just happen. We'll get to the truth.
Just relax. Even if everyone else suspects Lenny and Lynette, at least we will be supported. Besides, I doubt Verena understands any more about what happened than we do.
Thanks, Navia.
Best of luck to you.
Dankeschön. Ah, Paimon mit dieser Brille. Oh, nee. Wie sind wir da hochgekommen?
Oh, finally, you're back. Well, how did your investigation go?
Die Ermittlungen laufen eher
To be
schleppend.
honest, you might be disappointed.
No. We're already very grateful that you were willing to help. Well, now, don't you all look disappointed. Don't tell me that your investigation came up empty-handed. That was to be expected, of course. The guilty can never produce proof of their innocence.
Sie ist aber auch frech.
But don't let that stop you. I shall be terribly disappointed should you, my most anticipated foe, concede so easily.
Warte nur, bald wirst du es verstehen.
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident is now in session. Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the causes and results of the incident, could we please have Miss...
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage. All the necessary...
Linné enthüllt Anna.
Thank you, Mr. Liddy. In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began, and thus could not have committed the crime.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution, Lady Verena.
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Lenny is clearly lying.
Oha. Und was hast du für Beweise?
There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time if you were to abduct Halsey and murder Cowell. In fact, I'd say you were hardly in that tunnel at all.
That is simply your hypothesis based on the presumption that I'm guilty.
Oh, is that so? And if I may ask, what did you hear while you were inside your box?
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation.
And you didn't hear anything else at all? Nothing that might leave an impression of any kind?
No, nothing.
Oh,
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud. One so loud that I believe practically everyone heard it.
Huh?
Hey, hang on.
wie konnte Linné die Knall nicht gehört haben?
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud from inside the box.
I was right by the box, and I definitely heard the thud.
Look at those scales. Could those mean...
Sie repräsentiert vermutlich die Haltung der Aura Trees.
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use the words of the magician himself. You never know what can happen in the blink of an eye. Of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock solid. Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the House of the Hearth?
Oh, oh.
The House of the Hearth?
Die beiden sind Fatui.
No wonder they did something like this.
Selbstsicheres Publikumsmitglied.
So the serial disappearances were the Fatui's doing. Now it all makes sense.
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage probably wasn't just an accident.
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
Indeed. Then perhaps you could tell us everything that happened during that 1 minute.
Ich muss sagen, wie sie das inszeniert haben, finde ich das ziemlich cool.
Your first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure there is little that needs to be kept secret now. Unless your script already has holes in it. The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted? Now comes the infighting and discord, I suppose. This was almost too easy.
Oh Mann, sie ist aber auch selbstsicher.
Good thing I made all those preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled last night is really paying off.
Hey, Linny! Why didn't you tell us this before?
Lene und Lynette, sie sind Fatui.
Order! Order! Mr. Linney, allow me to re-establish the facts. First, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Second, you and Ms. Lynette are both members of the House. Are these claims true?
Ein Zauberer ist auf jeden Fall in der Lage, andere hinters Licht zu führen. Angesichts der Art und Weise, wie Lene seine Identität verborgen hat, könnte dies alles im Voraus arrangiert worden sein. Außerdem ist der Deckengraf zusammen mit anderen Mitarbeitern des Hauses des Kamins hier in Fontaine. Sie müssen irgendwas geplant haben. Ich wurde schon früher von dem Fatui getäuscht. Und jetzt?
Please answer my question, Mr. Linney.
I'm sorry. Yes, they're true, Your Honor.
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to the sentencing.
What should we do now?
Herr Richter, darf ich etwas sagen?
Granted.
Mein Mandant hat einige wichtige Informationen zurückgehalten. Meine Verteidigung kann nicht fortgesetzt werden. Was? Alter,
In that case, what is your request?
ich bitte um eine kurze Vertagung. Es gibt Dinge, die wir besprechen
Is
müssen.
that really necessary? They're already as...
The defendant deceived their own attorneys. What is there left to discuss?
Order! Order, I say! Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn. This trial will
So you would stick to Mr. Linney's defense even after knowing what you do now? You certainly have more professionalism. In that case, my dear audience, let's allow the joy of victory to steep for a little while longer.
Oh Mann, ist aber auch sehr arrogant. Während die Verhandlung vertagt wird, trefft ihr euch mit Linie und Lynette. Habe ich nicht zu Ende lesen können, war zu schnell.
Well, this is awkward. I didn't think the Hydroarchon would dig all that up. I'm sorry, Traveler and Paimon.
Yeah, sorry. Paimon doesn't know where to start. We trusted you two. We based our entire reasoning on the assumption that you weren't bad guys. Not to set the wrong tone or anything, but Paimon's
I'm very sorry. I know you're angry. I know you've clashed with the Fatui several times before. I wouldn't be surprised if just hearing the... But our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different personalities and goals.
Right now, we want to save people. As many as we can.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that its people might face. I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose to hide some details instead. The truth is very important, but being completely transparent about everything would see us spending more effort than we need to.
Was sagt uns, dass dies nicht nur eine weitere Lüge ist?
Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were you, I fear that I'd even struggle to trust me at this point. You met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster by trade. All by coincidence, too. But still, I'm asking you to trust me. I am...
Sorry. Please forgive us. Well, you both say that, but...
Was heißt denn hier zumindest nicht in diesem Fall? Dann erkläre mir zunächst etwas anderes. Wo warst du, als der Zauber vorgeführt wurde?
Right. Let's hear your answer first, and no lies now.
Of course. I'll answer any question you... We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has consciousness. During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick, with the objective of getting close to the core.
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the opposite box. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to investigate...
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this step.
Und was hast du herausgefunden?
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was about to investigate, which should have been impossible, of course, I was quite certain that I was the only one. That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the side of caution and retreated the way. On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground. But the countdown was almost finished, so there wasn't... After that, the homicide occurred just as you...
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Warum wollt ihr herausfinden, wie die Oratrice funktioniert?
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that...
That's the only way we can save everyone.
So, there you have it, the whole truth. It was never my wish to proceed under this cloud of mistrust either. But like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't trust the Fatui, there's nothing I can do to...
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Ich glaube an Fakten. Wenn du nicht der Täter bist, werde ich dich weiterhin verteidigen. Wenn du das Verbrechen begangen hast, wird dich eine Verurteilung erwarten. Aber ich bin auf seiner Seite.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against you two. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need a seriously watertight defense.
Tatsächlich haben wir bereits die entscheidenden Beweise in unseren Händen.
Huh?
Die Vertagung ist fast vorbei. Lasst uns zurückgehen.
Oh, Paimon thinks she gets...
Lunés Aussage. Nachdem Luné den Tunnel betreten hatte, gelangte er durch die Lüftungsöffnung in den Raum, in dem der Oratrice-Kern aufbewahrt wurde. Daher wurde er auch nicht Zeuge dessen, was in den Tunnel vorfiel, und konnte folglich auch nicht den dumpfen Knall hören. Stimme der Oratrice-Kernkammer. Luné gibt an, er war eine mysteriöse Stimme in den Oratrice-Kernkammer vernommen, die sich unter dem Opernhaus befindet. War es denn jetzt eine männliche oder eine weibliche Stimme? Das wäre ja noch ganz nützlich gewesen zu wissen. Meine Musik hier ist geil. Die Vertagung ist soweit und der spannende Prozess wird wieder
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating...
That took long enough. Now then, if everyone would lend at this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective.
Ermittle anhand der Schilderung der Ereignisse der Gegenstände, welche Aspekte ihrer Aussagen nicht stichhaltig sind. Anhand der Beweise und Hinweise, die im Laufe der Untersuchung des Falls gewonnen wurden, können die unhaltbaren Aspekte des Falls widerlegt und durch neue Schlussfolgerungen ersetzt werden. Wenn du das Publikum mit einem Gegenangebot überzeugen kannst, dass du mehr Unterstützung für den eigenen Champion wählen, die Oratrice wird die Änderung deutlich machen. Sobald alle unhaltbaren Aspekte identifiziert und widerlegt sind, wird Verpflegungskreis abgeschaut und die Wahrheit offenbart. Oha.
As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey. He did not realize that this sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed earlier that finally he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent others from recognizing. At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise, and caught. So Linny proceeded to knock him out too. Afterward, Linny passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands. And there you have it. That's the truth behind what happened.
Does the defendant's side have any objections to Lady Farina's description of the event?
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events. What Linny experienced and what he saw.
Mhm. Linny hat Halsey entführt, nach Widersprüchen suchen.
Seems this won't produce a particularly effective rebuttal.
Okay. Okay.
Linny went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. This is the actual truth.
Okay, das haben wir erledigt. Nachdem die Meditation
According to Linny, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He couldn't have had that altercation with Halsey.
Okay. Was? Hier fehlt uns was. Hier scheint uns was zu fehlen.
Seems that...
Hier scheint uns wirklich was zu fehlen.
Linny did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed...
Attention! Ace Detective Paimon has... When the countdown started, Linny did indeed, but he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House space. Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel, and finally, he reached the surface. And that was when the accident happened from his...
Erfolgreich widerlegt. Gut. Was nun?
Paimon did it! Paimon actually managed to save!
In other words, you believe that he knew nothing of the incident?
That's right!
Außerdem halte ich die Argumentation der Klägerin für fehlerhaft.
My reasoning?
Die Requisiten auf der Bühne wurden absichtlich von jemandem manipuliert, aber du behauptest, Cowell sei zufällig auf Linny gestoßen.
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to kill? Assuming that what you say is true, Linny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would the point of killing someone on stage be?
Oh, they have a...
That's right, you tell him! And that...
Well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your claims?
Erinnerst du dich noch daran, wie du Linnys Alibi widerlegt hast?
Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, how could he have not heard... You're saying that he wasn't.
Deine Aussage ist jetzt zu meiner Waffe geworden. Deine Aussage ist nun zu einem entscheidenden Hinweis geworden. Ja, wir stöbeln noch ein bisschen gegen sie. Kommentieren wird es gemächten Mädchen. Ja. Was haben wir denn hier?
Are you sure we don't need to give this more thought? Paimon thinks there's...
Was denn? Was müssen wir denn machen? Vielleicht war es gewählt während der Zaubershow. Kein Zusammenhang. Ein Ausgabe.
That's right! Lenny wasn't in the box or in the tunnel! This means that when the crime happened, Lenny had already entered the basement. The same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof! How do you like...
Well played. To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Lenny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
Der Täter war... Wähle die Zahnreihe auf dem Bildschirm, um die entsprechenden Fallabfrage anzuzeigen. Wähle die richtige Antwort und fülle eine Frage, um die Richtigkeit deiner Schlussfolgerungen zu überprüfen. Im Falle eines Falles musst du erneut aus den verbleibenden Möglichkeiten wählen. Sobald alle Fragen richtig beantwortet sind, ist die Beweiskette abgeschlossen. Die Gendermale zufolge entzünden die vor Ende der Zaubershow gezündeten Feuerwerkskörper das Seil, in dem der Wassertank befestigt war, wodurch dieser Hintergrund und Kobolds Tod verursachte. Nachdem Lene von jeglichem Verdacht freigesprochen wurde, werden dann noch die restlichen Mitglieder der Zaubertruppe, die sich an den Zauberrequisiten hätten zu schaffen machen können. Lene erklärte ausführlich, wie der Zaubertrick funktionierte sollte. Jedoch mit Hilfe des doppelt beschichteten Schranks sollte das ausgewählte Mädchen aus dem Publikum, das sich in dem Schrank befindet, durch einen Tunnel auf die andere Seite transportiert werden. Lene selbst sollte diesen Tunnel ebenfalls nutzen, um auf die andere Seite zu gelangen. Währenddessen übernahm Lynette nach dem Kostümwechsel und der Assistent gemeinsam die Interaktion auf der Bühne. Das Kleid der vermissten Halsey wird aus einem unbekannten Grund im Tunnel zurückgelassen. Wenn er eine Bedingung hält, sollte die Informationen im Detail anzusehen.
Halsey is the missing person and an ordinary audience member. Or did she have her own scheme all along?
Thank you.
Could there have been a third person involved?
Ja, ist, würde ich mal sagen. Schlussfolgerung falsch.
The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant. Halsey is the missing person.
Was? Schlussfolgerung falsch?
The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant.
Okay, Schlussfolgerung richtig.
Huh? That can't... the killer was...
Oh, is that so? How
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator. No one entered or left the opera house through its entrances. So, the deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. So, the sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing... Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Lenny. Lenny was not in the tunnel at... The sound we heard may have come from...
Ja.
Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel.
Ja, das würde wahrscheinlich
No one entered or left the...
Schlussfolgerung falsch. Was?
No one entered or left the The deceased's name is Cowell. Halsey's clothing was... The deceased's name is Cowell.
passen auch zueinander.
It would have been tough for both people to... The sound we heard may have come from...
Schlussfolgerung falsch, was?
The sound we heard may have come from a clash, but...
Okay.
Halsey's clothing was... No one entered or left.
Oh nein.
Lenny was not
Sowas
in
bin ich
the
ja gar
tunnel
nicht. Sowas bin ich ja gar nicht gut.
Lenny was not in the tunnel.
Nehmen wir das hier?
The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Hall. It would have been tough for both people. No one entered or left the The sound we heard may have...
Okay. Wo ist der derzeitige, wer ist der derzeitige
The
Hauptverdächtige?
deceased's name is Cowell.
Wohin ist der vermisste Herr?
It would have been tough for both. Halsey's clothing was in the
Dann würde ich sagen, nehmen wir das hier. Schlussfolgerung falsch.
It would have been tough for both people.
Hä? Abgesehen davon, wie er starb, verfügte Cole über alle Mittel, die er brauchte, um das Verbrechen zu begehen. Der seltsame Knall könnte wahrscheinlich vom Kampf zwischen Cole und Halsey herführen. Lene war nicht einmal eine Minute lang im Tunnel. Diese eine Minute hätte Cole gereicht, um Halsey aus dem Zauberschrank auf der Zuschauerseite zu holen. Doch der außerirdische Gendarm zuhörte, betrat der verließ inzwischen niemand das Opernhaus, daher war er unmöglich für ihn, das Gelände zu verlassen. Dazu schweigen davon, dass die Zuschauer ihn auf jeden Fall gesehen hätten, wenn er aus dem Zauberschrank
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring things out?
Wo um Himmels Willen ist denn Halsey?
I see how it is. So this was all just a bluff.
Look, since we're at a dead end, why not consider a different track? Just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must have been utterly different from the magician.
If only we knew how Halsey disappeared.
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits, and none of them seem... It's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person disappear. You know, like you did from that water tank, Lynette.
Aus dem Wassertank verschwinden. Könnte es das Wasser gewesen sein?
Excuse my interruption, dear opponents, but do you not see that the crowd is growing impatient? There is no...
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Wartet.
Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing... The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant.
Wohin?
The vase was not broken by chance. It...
Achso. Schlussfolgerung richtig.
Paimon gets it! It all comes together if Halsey... Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving only... If there's a similar method where a person could be
Just a moment, please. How could a person ever be transformed into water? This is reality we're talking about here, not some magic trick.
Ich bitte um eine Durchsuchung von Coles persönlichen Gegenständen. Vielleicht werden wir etwas finden.
Must we really? I should think that of any magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirection. But Halsey's disappearance is very...
Even so, I trust the Traveler's judgment.
Wenigstens einer.
The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning may open if we try. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings, would it?
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope. The way I...
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence... Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the deceased.
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical progress that we feel must be shared with everyone. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage, each labeled separately. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are...
the primordial sea.
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice. The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the key... One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of... As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is... In fact...
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving...
Could something so ridiculous actually be true?
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but...
If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water? Just a minute. Could that mean...
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partner?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased... Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the understanding... Guards, please continue examining the item, Mr. Linney. It appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence.
Of course. Thank you, Your Honor. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case's seemingly unrelated clues can be connected together.
Right! Like the metal heart! That one didn't make sense. Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water from the
Wasser des Urmeers. Eine Flüssigkeit, die von der Gendarmerie in Cowells Gepäck gefunden wurde. Sie scheint die Fähigkeit zu haben, Menschen aus Fontänen und Wasser auszulösen. Ist der derzeitige Hauptverdächtige.
The water from the primordial sea should already have been prepped before Halsey entered the magic box. Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant for another magic trick. The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire time. I remember there was something else within the inner layer of... The rope that strung the water tank up was lit by the fireworks and cut. As such...
Was? Okay.
The deceased's name is Cowell.
Keine Ahnung.
Lynette was in the magic box. I remember there was something...
Okay, wir haben jetzt aber ein.
The rope that strung the water tank... The water from the primordial sea should already...
Ich verstehe irgendwie nicht so viel.
It's Ace Detective Paimon's tundish in the original plan. Cowell would tamper with the water tank rope, and the nut when the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it. Afterward, Cowell would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being... But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel.
Huh. That actually links together a lot of them.
Haha.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I falsely accused an innocent person? What a humiliation.
Now, it seems like the only point of contention remaining is the exact circumstance. His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to the situation.
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating that they uncovered new... I shall now invite him on stage to share it with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just inspecting the luggage of the other people involved, and we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea among Linny's
What?
That can't be.
Oh, I see. Well, how wonderfully comedic to have your own count. Does this not clear all doubt? My dear citizens, my loyal audience.
Oh man.
Linny did not need to take part in the dissolution of the young woman at all. Indeed, he did leave the scene, having made modifications to the props beforehand. His accomplice Cowl then caused Halsey to vanish. But upon his return, in cruel avarice, Linny desired so ultimately, he knocked Cowl out, and the tool meant to cover the crime up now. As much as I regret having come to such a viciously straightforward conclusion, it does. Am I right, Mr. Linny?
We've used up all the evidence we collected. There's no way for us to make a rebuttal here. Is this the end of the road?
Oh, scheiße.
No! I can't think of anything either. Seems using the water as new evidence was too good a move. Why did this have to happen now?
I think we've all seen enough now. And I believe this is indeed the finale. Now then, my good, noble Chief Justice, should we not, in your view,
Excuse me, everyone, but I must interject.
Miss, I must ask you not to shout and to respect.
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting, you know. Now, would anyone here like to take a little break from all this? I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared back in the flesh, right before your... What in the world is...
No offense, miss, but miracles like that are beyond my scope as a magician.
Come on now, don't be silly. Magic is all about misdirection, isn't it? It often conceals the truth while presenting once everyone believes the illusion. Can't magic reveal the truth to them once again? And wouldn't such a trick be the most marvelous finale to today's performance? Come on, Lady and Lynette, give it another go. Don't worry. Spina di Rasu, but as the magic makers and stars of the show, I think I should...
I understand.
And voila!
Sorry for the interruption.
Wait, isn't that Halsey? So,
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so, I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was afraid that I would be the one put on trial. I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me. And then before I knew it...
That'll teach you to underestimate...
Where should I begin? I'm sorry.
What? Why?
Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lillian, and I'm originally from Mondstadt. I heard that Linny's show was gonna be a real thriller, but I missed the chance to buy. That's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there. And I'd never been, but I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and I barely got away. Linny was...
Hey! No wonder you look familiar. Liddy even mentioned that you were pretty skilled.
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but then the number selector chose me. He even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee. But then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone jumped into the tunnel to nab me. I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and... There was nowhere to run from there, though. So I had to change my clothes and hide in a box. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene and continued hiding inside the
Can a person even hide in there?
Wenn diese Person ein Händchen fürs Verstecken hat, dann ist es gut möglich, wenn man bedenkt, dass sie eine Diebin ist.
But I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box. I may be if he...
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now, doesn't it?
Es stimmt, es ist an der Zeit, die Argumentation des Hydra-Archons zu widerlegen.
This time, we need to tell the entire story from Lillian's perspective.
Aha. Linnea hat den Tunnel betreten. Sie hat sich aufgedreht. Zurückgelassen. Ja, warte mal. Einfach alles durchgehen. Nicht?
The strange sound wasn't from a fight. It was Lillian's attempt to break out when she was frightened. The flower vase was not broken to cover anything up, but was smashed during the struggle between Lillian and Cowell. Lillian was afraid that she would be recognized if she left, so she changed clothes and hid, biding her time. Just what
And it's Ace Detective time! Having been selected out of the blue, her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kept hearing the commotion. Cowell leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that Lillian had not. He did not know that Lillian was not from Fontaine, but was a thief who made her way, mistakenly believing that the water from the primordial sea needed time to take effect. The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but Lillian came out on with no way of escaping. She changed her clothes and hid in the costume.
Erfolgreich widerlegt.
She knew that she would have to go through guard inspection if she tried to leave afterward. So, she has been trapped in the Opera House these last...
She had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons. So, she swiped 2 of them right under our noses. Talk about a sneaky thief.
At this point, all the events that happened in the tunnel have now come to light.
Ah, so that's the whole story. Bravo! Bravo!
Now then, Lady Farina, do you wish to speak against the defense's statements? Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended. As such, I request that the prosecution not leave the room before the proceedings have concluded.
What? Are you reading my mind now? No. I have no further arguments. I admit defeat. But really, could you at least have left me with some dignity?
Wow! Look at that! She's like a
If there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontaine, I shall once again repeat the full sequence. The actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell, selected his next victim. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young woman would be chosen. To cover up any evidence while committing the deed, Cowell thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which would conceal the water left behind after the young woman. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to drop and hide the watermarks. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box and stuck it to the... Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young... When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon containing the water. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lillian was not from Fontaine, and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Lillian. Thinking that the waters had not yet taken effect, he decided to proceed. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic... Lillian, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid until the performance ended, before hiding in other parts of the opera house. As for Linny, he was in the underground structures within the Opera House. From this reconstruction of events, we can conclude that Linny... While there is much in Linny and Lilianne's conduct that should still be investigated, this case, at least, can be handed over to the Oratrice to... As such, Linny and Lynette are officially
Great work, partners.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Lass uns doch nicht feiern.
Next, I think we deserve an explanation, Guard Vaughn. How did you find the water from the primordial sea in Linny's baggage?
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you know. Or was that not?
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in Cowell's notes was not Linny, but you, yes? I'm sure you know what you must do to lessen your sentence.
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a one-way ticket to Coupon Town.
I was just following order. We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Linny, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui. The higher-ups said this was the best...
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, you have become a liability to said higher-ups, yes? Therefore, you would be wise to tell everything you know, and seek the protection of the guards.
Yes! I'll tell you everything I know. Our boss discovered that the water can cause people. It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people to experience... We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent more off it. The disappearances were also the boss's idea. I mean, this...
Er hat sich in Wasser verwandelt?
And now he can no longer talk.
Er wurde zum ewigen Schweigen.
Such ruthlessness.
An outrageous act. All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
Am Tatort werdet ihr doch nicht außer der Flüssigkeit suchen.
So, we're just going back now?
Das Problem ist vorübergehend gelöst. Wir müssen nicht länger hier bleiben.
That's true.
Traveler, Paimon, please wait.
Linny.
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe you don't even want to look at me. But still, let me thank you again for defending me to the end, even after you learned that I'm a member of the Fatui.
Ich wollte einfach nicht, dass jemand fälschlicherweise beschuldigt wird. Ich wollte nur den Gefallen zurückzahlen, den ich dir schulde.
I guess. But regardless, I'd like the opportunity to set things straight. I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. I've spoken to you as myself, just plain Linny this entire time. As for why I'm a Fatus, it's because the goals of the House of the Hearth align with those of an orphan like me. That was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting us back then too.
The Knave? The one who controls the House of the Hearth? She's your father?
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering, back when our parents first died, Lynette and I were left wandering the streets. To survive, I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded corner, and we began to perform magic tricks there. To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and we could at least stop worrying about where our next meal would come from for a time. But before long, an aristocrat came to me and claimed that he wished to take us in after watching my
So you went from orphans to nobility just like that?
That was how we felt at first too. As if fate was on our side and we could say goodbye to the... But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, He was really after my talent. He would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention.
That doesn't seem too bad either. Better than roaming the streets.
It took a while for me to realize. After one particular performance at a banquet, I discovered that Lynette was not on. I waited a long time after we returned home, but she did not come back. I went to that noble's. The answer he gave me was, she caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet, so I sent her over as a gift. I mean...
Oh no. So he was gonna... But wouldn't Fontaine's laws deal with such...
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care. And they have their ways of escaping the eye of the law.
Was für ein Schurke. Und was geschah
I
dann?
managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person and hurried through the night. But all I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood. And then...
So, she'd already taken...
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several girls hidden. Father, I mean, the knave, might have seen something in me, and so she made... The House of the Hearth welcomes you, for your interests align with ours. Here, none will ever betray you. Indeed, betrayal... I was hesitant to trust her. I mean, I had just been betrayed by nobles. But she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first, giving us back our freedom.
Oh, so that's how the two of you joined the House of the Hearth.
Aber das alles gehört der Vergangenheit an. Jetzt will Arakino das göttliche Herz erobern, nicht wahr?
She has her own plans. She has gained permission from the Tsaritsa to first use the Gnosis' power once she obtains it. She plans to use it to find a way to break the prophecy and save Fontaine.
So, she believes in that...
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently working to combat that crisis. Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve into some sort of water. Thus, all of us house members here, Lady Arlecchino herself included, are from Fontaine. To us orphans, the only connection we have left to this world...
So... From small deeds like distributing magic pockets to huge schemes like stealing a Gnosis, everything is aimed at dealing with that prophecy.
Tut mir leid, aber ich kann dir immer noch nicht ganz fassen.
It's alright. I understand. I just hope you can understand that even as a member of the House, I have never stopped making my own decisions, and that I believe what I'm doing is right. If you should need anything at all in the future, feel free to find me. I will do my best to help you, as plain Linny.
Ich verstehe.
Bye, Linny!
So. Ja, dann würde ich sagen, der Part geht ja auch schon lange genug. Dann würde ich sagen, wir beenden das erstmal. Tschüss!